All right, my friends. So it's good to see you. I'm out in sunny Colorado. Is the lighting okay on me? Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You're beautiful.
Yep.
So it's 4:00 here. It's 4:00 here. And I wanted to start with a couple of quotes this morning. First, I wanted to ask, before I go to the quotes, I wanted to ask how you're all doing with the Enneagram and with the class. How's it going for you?
Good.
Have you had any insights? Have you had any insights so far?
Learning
Well, I
about the
have.
wings has given me an idea of how I scored in different areas. It's given me a little more insight of where I could see different areas.
Hmm.
And today, this is actually my third high score, so it's kind of interesting to see what this will turn out to be.
Good. Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I think that I've been surprised at how many aspects of other types I am in addition to my main type.
Yeah, this
So
is
going through all of them is useful.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I did want to say to you that some people have thought, and I know Rosemary mentioned this idea, they had the idea that you that you could change your personality type in your lifetime. And in fact, you can't. You are what you are, but you may, according to where you are in life and where you are in circumstances, you may display very strongly another personality type just because of the qualities of that type. But you would still, like Rosemary says, she's a 2, she'll be a 2 forever. But the other 4 personality types that are linked to her 2, the wings and then her arrows, at any time in life, she could be expressing more of those other connections. Sorry, I got Rocket's here with me, and he's having a
Oh,
conversation.
I was gonna say, what? Who's got the dog?
I have the dog.
Rocket,
It's
huh?
Mr. Rocket, and he's barking at the noises around him. It's okay, Rocket. We're good. We're good, buddy.
And my big guy
Well-
Sparkler's gonna say hi to Rocket. Oh,
Yeah, that's a good idea. So the idea is that this is what I wanted to share today about the Enneagram and about the journey. Just I like to give you a little tidbit when we first start. And the thing that I wanted to talk about was how important it is to be willing to discover who you are at the deepest level. My grandson this week, we were talking about icons. We were talking about painting icons, and he made this one little drawing that to me was a wonderful drawing about love. Each icon was about love. And he said in this image, he said, love does not have a shell.
Wow.
And the picture that he drew was of a person with like a tortoise shell on their face, and then a heart, and then the picture of the person, just their face.
Wow.
And what it made me think of when he did that was that's what the effort of the Enneagram is that there is a pure essence within us that we were born with, a particular gift that we bring to the world, that God desires us to bring into the world at its highest level of operation, that is free and is just able to express itself fully with all confidence and all joy and all compassion and all mercy, and doesn't worry about itself, and just is able to know the love of God, be supported by the love of God, and be able to share with others and be compassionate towards others and not worry about how others affect us, but to be able to be present in any given situation in our own essence to bring the greatest love that we can. And as children, what happens is, in our pure essence, as we've talked about, we work at building up the shell around us to protect ourselves, so we'll be acceptable and we'll be okay and we'll be loved. And the more we build that shell on us, that's our personality. Now, that personality that we use to navigate the world, the problem with it is that it becomes, we lose our essence in that personality because it becomes like a shell. And when it becomes a shell, we don't anymore think that there's a pure essence in us that's essentially who we are and the gift that we bring into the world. We think we're our personality, and we live out of the responses that our personalities have developed. So when we're doing the Enneagram and we're listening to each personality type, what we're doing is we're placing ourselves in the space of being open to hear where our shells are, so that the spirit can help us be healed and to let go of those things that are holding us at a place of distance from God, or to say another way, to help us to let go of sin. Now, I found an interesting definition of sin the other day that I really liked a lot. If I can find it here, it's from Richard Rohr, and this is how he describes it. He says, sins are fixations that prevent the energy of life, God's love, from flowing freely. They are self-erected blockades or shells that cut us off from God and hence from our own authentic potential. So what happens to us is, lots of times we think of sin as this like really terrible thing we do, right? Like, oh, you're a sinner. But the truth of the matter is, all it is the ways that we don't believe that the love of God is fully with us, don't believe in our own goodness, don't believe in our own essence, and therefore can't move freely through it. So we live in the stories that we tell ourselves. And I want to say that the personality 4 that we're going to look at has a really powerful way, I think, of presenting that understanding of what it means to have this beautiful essence, and then what it means to pull in through protection of ourselves into a personality that limits our ability to express ourselves fully. And I want to suggest that maybe the reason for that is that if you looked at your handout for 4s are the artists of the world, right?
Mhm.
And how do we treat, for the most part, the artist in our world?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yep.
what I'm saying is it's a real struggle for for people who are artistic to be accepted as doing something valuable.
Right, exactly. Yep.
If you look at how many people actually become noted artists, and when we think about what do we do in this world to be worthwhile, we don't think of art as the thing that we do to be worthwhile, do we? We think of work, we think of all kinds of other things, but the person who's going to deliver art to us, well, so the reason that I say that to you is because that's why the 4 is going to show us the deepest struggle that happens with the artist and with that expression and how much pain they carry. And I think it'll help us to be able to see how to move forward in our lives. The other thing I want to say is that, how we talk about, there's we'll call it the most comfortable, most kind of clicking along in your highest freedom and your highest, healthiest reality. We have that level of expression of all of our personalities. Then we have the average level, which is it's good, you're coping, but it's got some blind spots. And then we have the really dysfunctional aspect of our personality, and that's when we're stressed out. Now, every time we talk about this, it seems to me like we almost talk as if those levels of personality are something that you're in and you can mature to the next one, right? But picture the idea that actually what happens with those 3 levels of healthy, average, and dysfunctional is that we go up and down in them, right?
Right.
Depending on what's going on in your life and the circumstances, we go up and down. So when we're talking about that, never imagine that you're just trying to climb up to the most, healthy place, or never be so afraid, oh my God, I'm so dysfunctional, I'm never going to get out of this. Remember that this idea of the flow between the 3 is what you move through all the time. And what you're looking at why it's important to see what it's like when you feel healthy and when you feel like you're an average, and when you feel like you're in dysfunction, is basically because it's a flag that tells you to care for yourself, to turn more to God when you find yourself in the places that you know aren't the best ways to express yourself in the essence of your personality. So I just want us to think about that today in our journey. And the second thing that I wanted to tell you about was that I found a really great new book. It's written by, I gotta see if I have his name printed out here. I think I do. It's written by a man by the name of Jerome Wagner. Has anybody looked at any of the Enneagram material from Jerome Wagner? Jerome Wagner was a student of the very earliest teachers of Enneagram in this country. The Navarro guy. I mean, don't I sound really smart, right? The Navarro guy. But at any rate,
that guy.
he was the guy that brought it in and started working on it. And Wagner was a student, and he's been studying all along. And he is up there with all the big hitters. And I got his book the other day, and I started reading it, and I thought he had such an enlightening description that I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this kind of introduction for each personality from here on out. This little bit that I'm going to put up for you in a second. I'm going to use this from now on when I start our class, and then we're going to go into our regular piece that we've been using all along from the Enneagram Made Easy. So I'm going to start with our first piece today, which comes from Jerome Wagner. And I'm going to go to share screen.
Is it J-E-R? Oh,
His name is Jerome. Jerome Wagner, Wagner. And the name of the book that I'm taking the material from is called The Enneagram Spectrum of Personality Styles. I'm going to send this piece that I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to have Charles send it out to you, and it's got it all. It's got the whole thing in there. So you don't need to worry about writing it down, because it will be right in there for you. Okay.
But I just want to say one thing, because it just struck me as, whoa, my God, maybe that's why I can't do my artwork.
Yes.
Because I think it's worthless.
Yes.
Or I'm worthless or something. I don't know.
Margaret, that's a really good way to see it. I'm glad for you to see that. That is the reality of it. That is what happens. Wait a minute here. I'm trying to stretch you guys out. Come on now. I don't have a.
Well, how do we see everybody who's here?
You got to go up into view. You got to go up into view, and you've got to go and click on gallery view.
Oh, okay. Well, we wouldn't want to do it now, would we, though?
Yeah, you can do it if you want.
Oh, when we're seeing your stuff, though?
Well, can you all, let me just ask you quick, can you see this screen well? Can you see this piece that I put up?
Yes.
It's nice and clear? All right. So now Jerome Wagner sets up the beginning of what the essence of the four is by showing us both the positive core, imagine the positive core essence of the personality, and then he then puts right beside it the distorted expression, the struggling side of that personality. Okay. So I'm going to read these back and forth, and I want you to get a feel for this. Okay. So a 4 is on the positive side, at the most comfortable place. A 4 is highly individual and is highly individual and values its originality. And they put their personal touch on everything they are involved in. On the more struggling side, when they don't trust in their goodness, they can over-identify with the idealized self-image of being special and unique. They may become an eccentric caricature of originality.
I'm not sure I quite understand that.
In other words, what can happen is the artist person, it really values their individuality and originality.
Right.
And they're like, do you know anybody who does any kind of artistic work at all? And if you'll notice, they do beautiful things, and it expresses the gifts and the talents. It could be anything. It could be painting. It could be art. It could be poetry. It could be anything along the arts. And it may even go into their house, where you'll go in their house, and their house will be, you'll look at their house and the decorations in their house, and you'll think to yourself, God, what an amazing eclectic expression. I would never think of that, like I got beige walls. You know what I mean? Like that. So the artistic person has a very unique way of expressing themselves. What can happen when their shell is thick and they're defending themselves is they can think that special and uniqueness is so important that they cling to it, and they can't really be welcoming of other ways of being there. So they get so defensive into that model. I have a friend who has a little girl, and if you saw what this kid picks to wear every day, she's got to be a 4, because her clothes are like the most vivid things, like she'll have a polka dot shirt on and a striped skirt on, and she'll have feathers in her hair, and she's ready to go. Maybe a set of beads around her necklace and around her neck. And, it's like, she's just this amazing, the things she puts together to wear are just amazing. I also know a young man who loves to cut and shape and color his hair and wear these amazing, brilliant outfits. Those kinds of people are people who are unique in their expression, and I would say are probably that kind of way of being is the 4. So if we go to the next level of their core value, like a poet, you have an ability to make the ordinary extraordinary. You can take what is plain and make it special. Like an oyster changes a grain of sand into a pearl. That's the gift of a 4. But on the distorted side, they can believe you must be unique, original, and different. So you push it farther than it really works for you. Otherwise, if you aren't unique and original and different, you're nobody. You identify and worth. Your identity and worth depend on your being special. So you see how that could be in somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next positive part, because the positive stuff is beautiful, and this is so wonderful. I love the way he writes this stuff. You value and appreciate beauty. You want to make the world a more beautiful place. You have a highly developed aesthetic sense. But on the dark side of that, if it goes too far, you can become an aesthete, artificially cultivate an artistic sensibility.
This is really interesting. The distorted core characteristics identify Oscar Wilde. He's absolutely that personality.
I think also, who was the guy that did the soup cans?
Yeah.
Andy Warhol.
I think Andy Warhol would you could see that same image in him. And we all get the 4 in a more subtle sense can be that as well. So let's go back to the positive again. You have an innate sense of quality. You have good taste and class. Right?
Yep.
Like maybe you know somebody who knows how to put together the most beautiful outfits, and every time you see them, they look just gorgeous. They just know how to do that. But then on the other side, on the darker side, you can look down on others for their Philistine taste. You may consider others to be tacky. You can see how that goes on the other side, right? I want to tell you, I'm going to laugh. I think my sister Nancy's probably a 4. Nancy Struff is a 4, I think. And when I go out with Nancy Struff and our friend Kathy Cronholm, I always feel like I'm the schlup slob with these 2 beauties. It's just like they dress so beautiful. It's like that's how it goes. But that's what you feel like sometimes around a 4.
Hey, I didn't come here to be made sport of.
But you're not being made sport of. I'm the one making sport of me, Nancy. What are you making sport of
I
me?
got it. I got it.
And am I right or wrong, Nancy? Don't you always pick out really beautiful clothes and always look really quite beautiful? You do.
Well,
You have
it's
that gift.
just,
You have a great gift. for that.
it's very natural for me.
I know. That's why I think you're a 4, because of just the way you are and the way you are creative and the way you express yourself. So you are creative and imaginative. You favor creative channels of expression. You believe you are so sensitive that your experience is so deep that mere words can't express it. You are highly intuitive. You are in touch with your own and the collective consciousness. Unconscious, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You often feel misunderstood because no one experiences things as deeply as you.
Mm.
It's a hard burden to have. Your self-boundaries on the healthy side, when you're strong, your self-boundaries are fluid, so you can empathize with and understand others' experiences. But on the painful side, your boundaries can become too permeable, such that you can take on others' feelings and lose touch with your own feelings and sense of yourself.
Ah, yeah, yep.
That's imagine that the stuff we're talking about on the opposite side of the beautiful core of yourself, we're talking about the stuff that you have to struggle with, the stuff where healing can help. You are highly attuned to the feelings, moods, and tone and spirit of the group. On the difficult side, you can become overwhelmed by your feelings and those of others and not be able to detach and step back from them.
Yeah.
You are sensitive toward the fragile feelings of hurt, pain, loss, and grief. On the difficult side, you are prone to melancholy. You believe your suffering makes you special.
Mm.
You have a sense for the drama and tragedy of life. You can overreact and dramatize. Drama creates excitement, dispels boredom, and helps create a sense of being special. You have strong emotional resonance and responsiveness to life on your beautiful core. And your intense emotions may frighten others because your sense of being is, I feel, therefore I am. Do you know anybody like that? Who everything is in their feelings?
Yeah.
You are
I have a lot-
romantic?
I
Huh?
have a lot of the feelings.
Yeah,
Emotional.
yeah, yeah. You are romantic, poetic, and nostalgic. You may live in your romantic fantasies instead of in real life.
Mm.
And finally, you feel fulfilled and whole in the present when you're in your most beautiful core of self. Or you can be, the threat can be that you focus on what is missing in the present. You can be nostalgic about paradise lost in the past and yearn for fulfillment in the future.
Wow.
Anybody have any of that going on?
Yes.
Margaret's like,
Not
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Not me.
Hey, anybody, Nancy?
Not me.
Wink, wink.
Oh, gosh.
Isn't the way isn't the way Wagner puts this really good? I think that he does a really good job of helping you be able to tune into what a good description is of the core essence and the other. So the objective paradigm for the 4 is originality, and the distorted paradigm is specialness. Can you see the difference between those two ideas? So on the adaptive cognitive schema, which means in a stronger, solid thought of it, you are in touch with your real self and feel whole and complete. You believe you are already, you already are original. And on the maladaptive side, you feel sad because you have become separated from your essential nature. You feel incomplete, inauthentic, lacking, and disoriented. You believe you must do something to make yourself special. And on the positive side, you feel connected to yourself, to your roots and the ground of your being, and you feel at home. This is a really powerful point for 4s. You feel abandoned, left behind. You see yourself as an aristocrat in exile, apart from the main. If you make yourself, oh, I'm sorry, I lost that last line. I apologize. I can't go to it right now. You see that? Anything you want to say about that part? Okay, the last piece I
Yeah,
want to show you.
Understand it.
Hmm?
Yeah, I do.
What?
I do understand it. Yeah.
And see the difference between what you want to strive for is to trust in and celebrate your originality and expressing it. The four wants to trust in and needs to trust in and celebrate their originality because it's such a gift to the world. And they have to be careful not to slide it into specialness because specialness is far more narrow and needy. You see how specialness becomes narrow and needy? Because if
Yeah.
it's about specialness, you're constantly needing reinforcement for that against the
Yeah.
world. Whereas originality lets you just be free to be yourself. So then this last piece is the virtue and the vice. Somehow my printing got messed up here, but on the virtue side, let me see if I have it better in another piece. I might have it printed better. Hold on. I don't. All right. So the problem here is that on the virtue, it's equanimity, and on the passion side, it's envy. Okay. So on this side, if you were to see, I'm sorry about the mistake in my printing, but this would have said up here, the passion is envy. Okay.
Oh.
So I wanted to put down what equanimity means because I thought it was really important not to just like kind of put that word out. But this is a beautiful thing to understand what equanimity means, which is what the virtue that the four is called to strive towards. Equanimity is one of the most sublime emotions. It is the ground for wisdom and freedom and the protector of compassion and love. While some may think of equanimity as dry neutrality or cool aloofness, mature equanimity produces a radiance and a warmth of being. The Buddha describes a mind filled with equanimity as abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility, and without ill will. So in the adaptive emotional schema, the thought process is to come to know that right now you have everything you need to be perfectly happy and to appreciate yourself and your unique parcel of talents. You express a balanced, appropriate response to inner and outer stimuli. And on the difficult side, where it's envy, where you're stuck in the self-erected barrier and walls and shells of envy, you envy others who seem to have something you're missing. You envy others' relationships and happiness and naturalness, and you have exaggerated dramatic mood swings because you're carrying so much pain. So I'm going to bring up our other piece to talk about now, but before we go there, does any of this help you to see the struggle of the four personality? Is there anything you want to say about that?
N, you need help.
That's what Dave used to say to me.
More general question.
Yeah.
Do you think that personality types are the way that an essence happens to show through in a person? That it's like a crystal that if you shine light into it, you get a spectrum out. And the spectrum is kind of the individual personalities. And the essence is that wholeness that shines through into different personality types or by way of different personality types. Do you see the image I'm getting at?
Yeah, I think I do.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm just asking.
When I think about it, I kind of think about, has anybody ever read any of Teresa Avila's work? The nun.
Yeah, a little.
She talks about the journey to wholeness in Christ as imagining that you're in a place like you have, it's like a crystal pyramid, and over the crystal, like mud is covered over it. And the mud is all the ways that we as human beings lose our connection with the beauty of who we are and the essence and the gift of our unique being. And we have to travel into the interior castle. We have to keep moving farther and farther past we have to keep recognizing the places where our thinking is no longer doing any good for us, and it's actually blocking our ability to be our beautiful self. So the essence is in the center of that kind of crystal image, and we move through and keep cleaning off the mud as we go. Well, we don't. Actually, the Holy Spirit cleans the mud off for us as we go along, as we're willing to be open to the truth about the places where our mind, where we're talking to ourselves in ways that are not beneficial.
Okay.
So that essence that radiates out is being blocked. But at the same time, we need to understand that what the Enneagram, and every tool is a tool. It's a tool. It's got its good, it's got its bad, it's got its in between. But the gift of the tool of the Enneagram is that the Enneagram is trying to put before you, and it's pretty darn accurate, put before you the distorted thinking of the type that you have leaned on the most. You have leaned on the most to express yourself from that your essence has caused you to lean on the most. So we have every single aspect, we have every single personality type within us. And we move into them from time to time and we express them. But we need to recognize, what we're trying to recognize in this class is which one from childhood have we become so comfortable that we lean into it and create the story, and like Will said, the shell around ourselves to keep ourselves safe, instead of being able to trust in the love of God to keep us safe. It's
And
just
what I'm trying to get at is that maybe when the personality type is at its most adaptive, is at its best, everything that you describe for the 4 at its best is really a reflection of part of the essence of the person.
That's it. That's the everything that we're reading. When I just read you those columns, everything in that side that shows the beauty is showing you. That's why I like Wagner's stuff, because I felt like, wow, he really showed the beauty. Like in a column, he showed the real beauty of the expression of the essence of a 4.
And that's important. You said the real beauty.
Yeah.
That's the reality behind the personality type.
Exactly. And that's where you're trying to get to. And,
Yes.
and whichever one you operate out of, the essence of that personality type is the deepest essence of you. Why you naturally lean toward it to use it while you were growing up as a child was because it's actually the essence of you.
Okay. Good.
Does that make sense to everybody? Does that make
Yeah.
sense to everybody?
Yeah.
So sometimes we call it the 4, the romantic. I can stand almost anything except a succession of ordinary days. 4s are motivated by the need to experience their feelings and to be understood, to search for the meaning of life and to avoid being ordinary. 4s at their best are warm, compassionate, introspective, expressive, creative, intuitive, supportive, and refined. At their worst, and I hate that word worst there. I like to say at their most vulnerable. I personally like to use that instead. They're depressed, self-conscious, guilt-ridden, moralistic, withdrawn, stubborn, moody, self-absorbed. You understand from what Wagner said, that whole idea of being original, being creative, bringing all that beauty, how that can create that side of it. Can you see it? So how to get along with a 4. Give me plenty of compliments. They mean a lot to me. Be a supportive friend or partner. Help me to learn to love and value myself. That's the big thing. Fours don't think they're worth anything. Respect me for my special gifts of intuition and vision. Though I don't always want to be cheered up when I'm feeling melancholy, I sometimes like to have someone light me up a little. Don't tell me I'm too sensitive or I'm overreacting. You out there, you four people, you people who have a heavy drop of four, does any of that ring for you? Do you have any
Yes.
stories about times when you might have been, you might have experienced any of the places where, hey, is there anybody who wants to talk about when you feel melancholy? I don't necessarily want to get out of it. Don't try to make me get out of it. You're laughing. Does anybody have anything to say about that?
Just
How
let me
true is
go.
that?
Just let me go through it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes a good wallow feels pretty good.
But you ought to know that's really unique to you. You need to know that that's really unique. And if you know a four, or you're hearing these people who have a lot of high four or are fours themselves telling us, you have to know that there are some of us, there are different personality types that would never say to you a good wallow it can be good. No, there are people here who will never say that's the way to go.
Yeah, I know, right, exactly.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that view in yourself. It's just understand that's how vastly unique personalities are, how we're very, very different. We need to see that, and we need to see it also so we can have more compassion and love for people who are different than us. So in relationships, four at their best in relationship are empathic, supportive, gentle, playful, passionate, and witty. They are self-revealing and bond easily. Four at their worst in a relationship are too self-absorbed, jealous, emotionally needy, moody, self-righteous, overly critical. They become hurt and feel rejected easily. Anybody got that problem? And yeah, Nancy. Yeah, Nancy, could you tilt that down so we can see your face, maybe? Not Nancy. Nancy's like, I want you to know my sister Nancy's like a raging four.
You can't tell all my secrets.
Nancy, it's such a beautiful thing that you're a four. But right, Nancy, it's everything here like, yep, that's me, right? It's true. Okay, so what I like about being a four, tell me if this isn't true. My ability to find meaning in life and to experience feelings at a deep level. My ability to establish warm connections with people. Admiring what is noble, truthful, and beautiful in life. My creativity, intuition, and sense of humor. Being unique and being seen as unique by others. Having aesthetic sensibilities. Being able to easily pick up on the feelings of people around me. What's hard about being a four? Experiencing dark moods of emptiness and despair. Feelings of self-hatred and shame, believing I don't deserve to be loved. Feeling guilty when I disappoint people. Feeling hurt or attacked when someone misunderstands me. Expecting too much from myself and life. Fear of being abandoned. Obsessing over resentments. Longing for what I don't have. How hard is that? Right? Typical thoughts of a four. What it all for anyway? No one really understands me. I want to create something meaningful, deep, and unique. Searching, longing, grieving. Why did I say the wrong thing again? Yeah.
Too many of those are negative. Too many of those are negative, because I think a typical thought of a 4 might also be, oh, look how beautiful the sunset is.
Oh, that can be a very typical one, but I'm just saying a 4 wanting to be unique can very frequently say something that they think is funny, they think is going to be unique, and it just doesn't quite land properly.
I
Yes, I
shouldn't have
know.
come
What
to
I'm
this
saying
meeting
is,
tonight.
okay.
When is my real life going to begin? 4s as children have active imaginations, play creatively alone or organize playmates and original games, are very sensitive, feel they don't fit in, believe they are missing something that other people have, attach themselves to idealized teachers, heroes, artists, etc., become authoritarian or rebellious when criticized or not understood, feel lonely or abandoned, perhaps as a result of the death of their parents or a divorce. This is something really important to understand about a 4. 4s, when they're young, attach themselves very strongly to a parent, and often what has happened to them in childhood is that the parent that they attach themselves to has, in one way or another, abandon them, whether they did it by criticizing them, whether they did it by dying or by a divorce and marrying someone else. But the child loves that person so much and wants that person to appreciate them and appreciate their uniqueness. And at some level, that parent has maybe done a little bit of it, and then it gets destroyed. That is a deep wound that happens to 4s. I mean, it could happen to any of us, but for a 4, that is so crushing to their beauty and their creativity. 4s as parents help their children become who they really are, support their children's creativity and originality, are good at helping their children get in touch with their feelings, are sometimes overly critical or overly protective, are usually very good with children if not too self-absorbed. So careers, 4s can inspire, influence, and persuade through the arts, big, strong, and the written spoken word. See that level, like think about all the artists we know and how much they suffer, so much they suffer. Many like to help bring out the best in people as psychologists or counselors. Some take pride in small businesses they own. Often 4s accept mundane jobs to support their creative approaches. In free time, 4s enjoy spending time with their partners and children and maintaining important close friendships. They appreciate nature, pursue spiritual interests, and attend musical, artistic, and literary events. Many enjoy browsing in bookstores, shopping in boutiques, and looking for interesting clothing or one-of-a-kind treasures. Nancy, does that sound familiar? 4s often express themselves creatively. Some are active in anti-violence or political causes.
Sounds good to me, Nancy.
All right, you got me.
Miss Margaret and Miss Nancy, you're humming right along. And I have to tell you, Noni, I have a feeling that a lot of this is true for you too.
Join the group, Noni.
Come on and swim. I think Nancy Neff is like this too. All of you just jump on in the pool, splash around a little.
Well, this is one of my
I can
wings.
see a very small amount in me of this. I don't know.
You see only a very small amount of you in this?
Yeah.
It's interesting, Noni, because
I
I
don't
see a
quite
lot.
fit.
It's interesting that you say that, because I see a lot of this over the years that I've known you. I see a lot of this personality in you. It might not be your sole personality, but I see a lot of the expression in this. Like when I think about the way you taught, the creativity that you brought to teaching, the uniqueness that you brought to teaching, your journey from childhood and the sense of uniqueness in yourself. I just, I could be wrong, but I was actually thinking that this might click some, maybe not all, but I thought it might click some pretty good stuff for you.
You know, there's one thing that I was thinking about when I was listening to this.
Uh-huh.
I was born a free spirit. When I was little, I was
Exactly.
a free spirit, totally.
Exactly.
And then at the age of, I'm trying to think how old I was just less than 2. My mother died. And then my father remarried not so long after that. Then at the age of 6, he divorced from my first stepmother, whom I thought was my mother. And it was very abrupt. And my personality started to change.
Started to build the shell.
Oh. And then my father sent my brother and I to boarding school while he met somebody else. And then I had a new step parent, and I didn't know my father that well at all. And both of them were, I mean, all I can think of when I was growing up is whatever I would do, I get excited about it, and all of a sudden, boom, there were negative comments against it.
Oh.
So I was, whatever my personality was, which was a very free spirit, let me tell you, I was a little
for
kid who
you,
walked
Noni.
away from
Go,
kindergarten
go,
because
go.
yeah. And it was like I would get excited about something and then everything would fall down because of the negative responses I was getting.
Oh.
So I'm not sure, you know, I might have started off this way.
That's what, Noni, that's exactly what I thought, to tell you the truth, from the journey that you and I have had, and your description of how you saw the world when you were little, and then watching how it's come through in you over your lifetime, including all the artwork that you've done and the heart that you've put into your artwork. I have just really always felt that I'm surprised that you don't see as much connection, because it seems to me from the very little girl who was such a free spirit and so creative and so imaginative, to me, that is that beautiful, pure essence of the 4. That's why I said it. And I don't want to push you to pick something up that you don't think is you. It just,
No, I'm seeing it, Jackie. I'm seeing it. It's just that it's away from where I kind of ended up.
well, yeah, because it kind of got pounded out of you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that's the
Exactly.
point. That's how the shell came around you, Noni.
I can remember the time with my father and my brother, this was at the boarding school, sat with me in a car. And my I don't know if it was, I think my brother told me, or my father, that my first stepmother was not my mother. That my mother had died. That was a crash.
Yeah, you were so young when she died, because yeah, so you would have thought the
So-
step-
Yeah, you know, my memories go back to about the age of 3, I would say.
That's amazing.
Maybe 2.5. So it was after.
So what you guys are experiencing with Noni and this brave courage that she's having to share with us is like one of the efforts of coming to know deeper the beauty of our essence, and maybe being able to let go of a few more things about the way we look at the world, and being able to let more of our creativity out, whatever age we are, whatever experience we're in. As you listen to this courage, I want to encourage you to have the courage to think back, and to try, when you're listening to the different personality types, to think of yourself as a little child and see what you see as you're listening to these personality types and that are talking about the shell around you. See what you see and see if you can find that personality so that you can start listening to the things that get whispered in your ear that limit you. And you can turn them over to the spirit so you can be set free and let more of that beautiful little child out. Remember, we cannot completely own the kingdom of God unless we'll come as children. And I think I've never thought of it till we've been doing the Enneagram, that to come to the kingdom of God as a child is to come in your purest essence into the trust of God. Let that pure essence come in and really receive the way God is loving you and with love and delight in seeing you express yourself. So hopefully that helps. So comments about Force. He's a very deep soul. I value him for being my wisest and most insightful and intellectually stimulating friend. The Force I know have an interesting mixture of qualities: intensity, depth, spirituality, and rebelliousness. He runs a very successful business due to his perseverance, determination, and originality. She has her own innovative daycare center. She's committed to making a healthy and creative environment for children. She's a real character. She can usually be found inventing new recipes, floating gardenias in her bathtub, or giving crazy parties. And there's Oscar Wilde. One should either be a work of art or wear a work of art. So here we go, the wings. Now, so this might help you also. So your wing personalities, we know how that all blends, right? So strong. So we're gonna look at this. 4s with a 3 wing tend to be more extroverted, upbeat, ambitious, flamboyant, and image conscious. Okay, they lean that way. The 4 with a 5 wing tends to be more introverted, intellectual, idiosyncratic, reserved, and depressed. So, and they're talking about the wide wing, okay? They're talking about the wide wing, and you have to know that there's a big spectrum in between there of the expression of the 4. It's not either this or that. There's a whole bunch of dancing in the middle. And and every personality, whenever we're talking about wings, it's never, you might be on one dramatic side of it, but not necessarily. But you will be able to see these quality traits. So now here we go. Moving around the Enneagram, following the lines of the diagram, so that you know there are 4 personalities that your personality relates to. Your wings and your arrows. That's 4 different personalities that you can slide in and out of and express things in and learn things from and be a part of. So the 4s move toward 1 in one direction and toward 2 in the other. 4 moves towards the positive side of 1 when they feel secure and comfortable. They can also consciously cultivate these positive qualities. 4s move toward the negative side of 2 when stressed. They can consciously try to avoid these negative traits. Read those chapters. So think back and take your papers out and look at what they say about those for you. So when 4s move toward the positive side of 1, they become more self-disciplined and grounded in the here and now, do more problem solving and become more practical. 4s have a really hard time with making decisions. Shift to accentuating more of the positive and less of the negative. Act on their strong ideals and principles and become less controlled by their feelings. When 4s move towards the negative side of 1, they feel critical, judgmental, and angry that no one does anything right, moralizing, preaching at people, feeling guilty for not living up to their own expectations. When 4s move toward the negative side of 2, they try to manipulate others into loving them in the mistaken belief that others' love will replace their own emptiness and loneliness. Did you ever have a feeling like you were angry that somebody wasn't loving you back the way you wanted to be loved? We all have that. That is part of our personality. In the 4, because of the way they are, and because they struggle with the pain of feeling not worthy, that's a big one. Okay, so they deny and repress their own feelings. They become overly dependent. possibly become ill to get attention or be special. When fours move toward the positive side of 2, they connect with people in meaningful ways, become less self-absorbed, and meet others' needs in healthy detachment. So here are the practical suggestions. Be proud of your special gifts, talents, and accomplishments. Work toward fulfilling the needs that were not met in your childhood. Treat yourself lovingly and compassionately. Devote yourself to the task of self-discipline. Value living in the present. Find ways to make everyday duties and responsibilities creative or playful. Commit yourself to creative work that will bring out the best in you. Try to make this your source of financial support. If it's not possible to make a career of your creativity, make sure you take the time you need for your ideas to germinate on your off-work hours. Notice what qualities you admire or envy in others and develop them in yourself. In relationships, be direct and specific about stating what you want and don't want. I mean, really, isn't that hard for all of us? That's a challenge for every one of us. But with the 4, that's a really big one. Be careful not to blow what others say out of proportion. If you feel offended, check to find out whether that was what was really meant. Develop a strong supportive system of friends rather than relying on only one to meet all your emotional needs. Deal with interpersonal issues quickly instead of withdrawing from them. Try to be objective and not overpower people with your emotions. Feelings and emotions. Write your feelings down in the strongest language possible in a letter that you do not mail. Remember the do not mail part. When you have trouble controlling an emotional reaction, become a detached observer. Visualize yourself gradually turning the dial down. Stand still and hurt. Remember, it will pass. I think, in terms of our connection to God, one of the really powerful things you can do when you're feeling really deep pain is say to yourself from the Psalms, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. And let the trust that God loves you so much just slowly melt away the pain, so you can let go of the initial reaction and deal better with it. Avoiding depression. As reasonably as possible, confront people who upset you so your anger doesn't turn inward. Develop good habits of sleep, exercise, eating, and work. Allow yourself to mourn your major losses. Get professional help if necessary. Get out of the house. Keep moving. Work at belonging. Keep in close touch with relatives and friends. Try to express your depression creatively in poetry, music, dance, or art. Focus on the positive aspects of your life. Make a list of the things you are thankful for. Write it big and post it on a wall. I want to make this point to the people who are 4s. If you can take this in and hear what's being said to you about what it is to be who you are and how to care for yourself, if you can do that, you can take that piece of originality that makes you feel like you're in it alone, and you can let yourself open up. You can accept, wow, this is really how it is. And I can take this and I can grow in it. I'm not alone. And I can move into deeper places of freedom and love for myself and for others. It's hard to be a 4, I'm telling you. It's beautiful. We are such a blessed world to have 4s, such blessed world, and it's hard to be that. Things 4s would never dream of doing. Making a paint by number landscape and hanging over the living room sofa. Going to a restaurant in a polyester suit and ordering a Spam sandwich and instant coffee. thinking for a whole month about nothing but positive things that have happened in their lives, deciding that mauve, champagne, and indigo are stupid colors and decorating their houses in happy pink and laughing yellow instead. Deciding that soul searching is too trite and giving it up. Throwing away old photos of boyfriends and girlfriends dispassionately. And finally, positive things to say to yourself. I will value each day no matter how imperfect. I will relax and enjoy the present. I am at home in my body, the world, and the universe, at the heart of my life as well. I am beautiful, capable, and lovable just as I am. There is nothing to make up for. I can be as kind to myself as I am to my best friend. And that's the 4, my friends. Anything you want to say about the 4s?
You're lucky to have us.
We truly are.
Would you believe that I was given a paint by number test set, and my stepmother couldn't understand why I didn't want to do it?
Yes, I can believe that. I hope you're starting to be convinced of who you are, Missy. So anything else? Any other reactions today to the 4? We're good?
We're great. 4s are great.
They are great. Every number is great. That's the thing. No number's better than another. No number's worse than another. They just are what they are. And they're all beautiful. We're all beautiful. Every personality trait is meant to be beautiful. So I wanted to end with a blessing. I found this really cool blessing, and I wanted to give this to you tonight. May you recognize in your life the presence, power, and light of your soul. May you realize that you are never alone, that your soul in its brightness and belonging connects you intimately to the universe and to our holy God. May you have respect for your individuality and difference. May you realize that the shape of your soul is unique, that you have a special destiny here, that behind the facade of your life, there is something beautiful and eternal happening. May you learn to see yourself with the same delight, pride, and expectation with which God sees you in every moment. Amen. That's it for this Enneagram class, my dear darlings.
Beautiful, beautiful thing.
Thanks again.
Don't you like the Jerome Wagner
I'm
stuff?
not feeding the cat tonight.
Spoken like a true 4. A true self-absorbed 4 who wouldn't feed the cat and fish because they're a little miffed that they found out they really are a 4. That's nice.
Oh,
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I know you may not feed the fish, but you'll definitely feed the cat because he's your favorite pet.
yes, of course you'll do that. Yeah.
We got this thing going.
That's right, you do. So at any rate, I'm going to send you that piece from Jerome Wagner, and I am going to be using that little intro for each one of our personalities, and I'll get it caught up and send you for the first couple, so you'll be able to bring it with your other material, because I think he does such a great job of helping you see better the beauty and the core of the essence and the challenge of what happens to it, so that I hope you like it as much as I do. So that's it for this mission, my darlings. You have a very lovely week. And I want to say one other thing. Has anybody been doing their Latin book that I sent?
Yes.
Yes,
I love that book.
it really is good.
It
Mm.
really, really is awesome. If you have it and you haven't picked it up yet, I really want to highly encourage you to pick it up. It's just luscious. It's just wonderful. So I wanted to just make that little pitch.
All it
Gotcha,
takes
be a
is
go
a
home.
moment every day, that's all.
Hmm?
The-
What would you say, Noni?
I said it doesn't take very long every day to read.
No,
it.
it's like a
just-
2-second thing. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, my loves.
Gotcha, be a
Well,
go home.
Uh,
Gotcha,
Gotcha, be a go home.